What's up, people? In this video, we are going to talk about setting fitness goals and why it's, I don't want to say a bad idea. I don't know. It's not the best idea. There is something that you can do that's better than setting fitness goals. And we're going to talk about that as well. But first, I want to explain why setting fitness goals is not good and why it is ultimately going to lead to, yo-yo dieting, yo-yo fasting, yo-yo getting in shaping, whatever, all that stuff where your weight fluctuates a lot and you get in really good shape for a brief period and then you get fat or you fall out of shape or whatever. Okay, so we're going to talk about that and how to avoid it and what you should do instead. Okay, so sorry, I'm getting rained on and the rain is making me itchy for some reason. Yeah, this is dedication to making videos right here, making them in a light rain in Tokyo. Yeah, it's really not that hard. Okay, so before we get into that, subscribe to my channel, button down there. Check out legendarysuitjammers.com. This will probably be the last video where I rep legendarysuitjammers.com. I hope you made lots of sales, Peter, or any sales, really. Your pajamas were the bomb. It's all good. You never sent me that affiliate link. No harm, no foul. I got some good use out of it. And yeah, peace. Okay, so what was this video about? Shit. This video was, setting fitness goals. Yeah, all right. So here's the deal. I've talked about this before, but what's the problem with setting fitness goals? Now you hear people talk about this. They say, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 20 pounds. That is, in your mind, that is perceived as an event, okay? You are working towards a specific moment in time, a single moment in time where you will have achieved that goal, okay? I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, let's say on the timeline between now and losing 20 pounds, what is the end of that timeline? Okay, it's losing 20 pounds. Once you hit the end of that timeline, your brain is going to think, okay, we're done. That's it. We lost the 20 pounds and we don't need to do what we were doing anymore that got us to losing the 20 pounds because we've already achieved it, okay? So your brain can kind of shut off and focus on something else. Now this is bad for obvious reasons, and I'm pretty sure I've made other videos about this, but I just kind of want to reiterate that before I go into what you actually should do. Okay, so hopefully that's clear, and if you are, I get some comments sometimes from people that'll say like, I'm a yo-yo faster, my weight fluctuates a lot, I'm trying to, what did somebody like, I don't know if this was on my channel or another channel, but somebody like left a comment or I read something and it was like, I've been losing the same 20 pounds for 6 years or something like that. And it's like, I don't know. To me, it seems obvious what needs to be done. But then again, I'm sure people would look at my life and be like, they would tell me what seems obvious to them, right? We all have blind spots, okay? All right, so what you need to do instead is create habits, okay? I've talked about this before, but what I seem to remember focusing on before was creating what's called an identity level change, right? Like the woman that I mentioned previously, where she talks about, I've been gaining and losing the same 20 pounds for 6 years, right? That's her identity, okay? That's who she thinks of herself as. She's saying, I'm this person who gains 20 pounds and loses it, and gains 20 pounds and loses it, right? That's who she is. Instead, right, what she could have said is, I am an ex-fat person who decided that enough was enough and that I was going to finally be in shape, right? You see the difference between those two things? Now, the funny thing is that those are actually kind of the same thing. I kind of wish I had a whiteboard now that I could draw this on, but the concept of being a fat person who loses the weight, who finally decides they've had enough and decides to lose the weight, that is contained within the identity of the person who keeps gaining and losing the same 20 pounds over 6 years, right? In order to decide to lose that weight, you have to reach the point of, I'm, sick of this and I want to change, right? But the problem is that there's more to it than that, right? In this person's mind, right? They want to lose the weight, but they don't end it there. Okay, they have, I guess, a more complex idea of their identity than just keeping it simple. Okay. Anyway, It's less important because we're not talking about that now anyway. What we are going to talk about is what you should do instead of an identity level change, which is like weird and confusing, or quote unquote setting a goal. And by the way, actually one more thing about setting goals before we get into this. If you do decide to set a goal, okay, I would highly recommend that you set a ridiculously like insane goal for yourself instead of just like a watered down, weak ass, like bitch ass, like, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds. Like that's some weak shit right there. Like, sorry, not sorry. Okay, and I'll tell you why. When you set a goal, you're never really going to reach your goal. Okay, most of the time, 99 times out of 100, you're going to quit before you actually get to the goal. And the reason for this is because most of the time, the goal that you set is actually arbitrary, and you only set it because it sounds good. Okay, I want to make $1 million. I want to, my goal is to make $1 million. I want to, what else? What other goals do people set for themselves? I want to, I don't know, whatever. Okay, you're not actually going to get there. You're going to make progress and get kind of far enough until you kind of get sick of the work that you're putting in and you kind of quit right before. Like an easy example that I can just pop into my head right now is when you go for a run, let's say, those of you who run. When you go for a run, you say to yourself, at least this is what I do, I say, okay, I'm gonna run to this landmark, and then I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna run. When I come back, I'm gonna run until I get to this fire hydrant, for example, whatever. What I'll find myself doing is running until the fire hydrant, or running, coming back, and stopping maybe 100 yards before the fire hydrant, or a block before the fire hydrant. I won't actually run to the fire hydrant, although now I'm like more conscious of this and I do it more. I won't actually run to the fire hydrant. What I'll do is I'll stop maybe a block before, and I'll be like, that's enough. I ran all this way, I ran all the way there and down back. Like, what's the difference if I, go all the way to the fire hydrant? Like, who really cares? Okay, so, however, by saying that I'll go to the fire hydrant, I will at least run to that block, right? The end of the block, okay? Whereas if I said, anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? So that's, if you're gonna set a goal, set a lofty goal anyway. Or set a goal that's bigger than what you actually want to accomplish so that you'll get higher than what you think you want to get, all right? Now, let's talk about what you should actually do, because you shouldn't even do that anyway. What you should do is you should have a habit of something that you do. And the reason is because let's say you set this goal. You say, I want to lose 20 pounds. Once you lose the 20 pounds, if you don't have the proper habits in place, then you're not going to be able to maintain that result anyway, okay? So the goal without the habits is kind of useless, whereas the habits without the goal is not useless at all. Okay, now I'll give two examples for this that don't necessarily have to do with fitness, but I think that they are fairly accurate anyway. So I used to do kiosk sales, selling hair straighteners in shopping malls, and it was a commission-only sales job that was fairly competitive and kind of a mind fuck. Okay, meaning that you could have one day where everything that comes out of your mouth is pure magic and people are laughing and it's like you can do no wrong and you're selling left and right and like you just know, you're just like so confident, like you see somebody, you're like, I'm gonna fucking sell to that person right now. You grab them, you bring them over, $200, and 15 minutes later you feel even better. You didn't even know it was possible to feel better, but you did. Okay, other days you try and do the exact same thing and you work until 3 o'clock, 6 hours, 20 demos, you haven't sold a damn thing, and you start to question if, oh my God, have I lost it? Do I suck at this now? And that's really just sales in general, except in kiosk sales, specifically, beauty products, which is what I've experienced with, it's much more of an intense emotion, okay? So in these commission-only sales jobs, it's very common for people to want to set goals. Okay, so what people will say to themselves in the morning, this is recommended by the staff. They'll say, okay, set a goal in the morning, write it down on a piece of paper, write down how much you want to sell that day, and then write yourself a sentence that will kind of motivate you when things are tough, so that you can open it up and you can kind of read that sentence that will remind you why you're doing this. Okay, so the important thing to focus on here is that you are the goal itself. Okay, so let's focus on the goal itself. let's say your goal, and a very common goal in kiosk sales is to get to 1,000, right? Although now it's a little bit different because the game has kind of changed and people are able to make a lot more money by making bigger sales, but let's pick 1,000. That's a nice, easy number for somebody who's starting out. So your goal is to sell $1,000 worth of products by the end of the day. Most of the time, what ends up happening with, I don't want to say, let's say intermediate salespeople, is they'll work and work and work. They'll make a sale here, a sale there, 300, 150, whatever, 200, and they'll get to 870, 920. And they'll just kind of get, and they'll get there by early in the day. They still got hours and hours left to sell and make money, but they can't seem to get quite close to 1,000. They never really cross that barrier. Okay, and the reason for this is what I described earlier, where if you set a goal, it's very likely that you're not actually going to get to that goal. You're going to work until you feel good about the amount that you've worked and the result that you've gotten. You're going to feel so good that you don't have that desire, you don't have any desire left to actually reach your goal, because you already feel good enough already. And hitting that goal, it's like, do I really need to get to 1,000? I'm already on 920, and this is all subconscious, right? Now let's compare that. The other example is by just having good habits. Okay, now the other example that I can talk about with these good habits, is also from kiosk sales, okay? So this happened to me, and I'm able to talk about these things because I've experienced all of them. So I like to think that I kind of know what I'm talking about. Okay, but anyway, the other example, right? You've got the one guy who sets the goal for 1,000. And I think setting a monetary goal is a useful tool, and it's not like you shouldn't do it. But at an advanced level, I think it's like being really good at something and using a beginner's tools. Like, you don't need to, and it's kind of going to hold you back. Like, you can still do it and do well, but what's more effective is to use tools that are advanced. So for example, let's say you're advanced. The more effective thing to do would be to just have the right habits, okay? So if you're, again, with kiosk sales, what are the right habits? Okay, the right habits could be, for example, work, they're all really associated with your workload, right? Like, strive to do at least 50 demos a day. Okay, now it's not likely that you're actually going to be able to do 50 demos because the day is generally not long enough to do that much unless they're very short. But by focusing on your workload instead of the number of the amount of money that you're going to make, that is something that is going to kind of, I guess that what I'm trying to say is that's a good habit to have, is to do a lot of demos, right? You see the difference? Like, one is like, I want to make this much money, which will cause you to kind of try and get as much money as possible out of the customer, which is kind of, I don't want to say it's not good, because you should try to do that anyway, but it's almost like the difference of, let's say you go to the gym and your goal, I want to burn as many calories as possible during this workout, right? That's not bad, but what is better is a more long-term approach where you say to yourself, I'm going to make the habit of going to the gym 6 days a week. Okay, just by the nature of you going 6 days a week and being more consistent, that is much better than saying, I want to burn as many calories as possible during this workout. Does that make sense? Another habit that's really good from kiosk sales that kind of, why is this getting dark? That kind of illustrates this point is to not focus on how much money you're making, right? So like when I worked in Australia, this is before I had my own shop, I worked for another company out there. So when I was working out there, they had a computer system that linked all of the kiosks together, and you could, when you logged into the computer system, they had something called the competition. Every day, it would have the top 3 salespeople at any given time in the entire company. I think there were maybe 9 or 10 kiosks, or 8 or 9 maybe, and around 25 people. Why is it so bright? Oh my God. Around 25 people who were working at any given time. I'm really sorry about the brightness. I think it's because of the rain. All right, whatever. So anyway, the point is that newer salespeople, I would say beginner to intermediate, would obsessively check the competition. They would obsessively check to see how much other people were on, right? Regardless of how much they were on, right? If they weren't selling a lot, and this is kind of what it comes down to, okay? If they weren't selling a lot, what they would do is they would check the competition because they would think to themselves, oh, is it just me that sucks today? Or is there some other reason why nobody's buying, right? And it would have who was selling how much, right? So let's say the top 3 people were whatever, these 3 people, and it would show number 1 is on 1,000, number 2 is on 800, and number 3 is on 500, whatever. So they would see like, oh wow, everybody else, these other really good salespeople aren't selling for shit either, therefore it's not my fault, right? And on the flip side, let's say they were having a really good day, they would want to check also. They would think to themselves, oh wow, I'm having such a good day. Am I first on the competition? Am I second on the competition? Like where am I compared to everybody else? And you know, from a fitness perspective, what's the difference with this? Or how does this compare? Well, it's like comparing how you look compared to other people. Now again, I'm not saying that this should never be done and that there's no place for this whatsoever. Holy fuck, this is a long video. But it's not it shouldn't be the main thing that you focus on. Okay, the main thing that you focus on should be the habits that you have that will inadvertently get you to where you want to go. So for example, if you want to have a 6-pack, oh my God. Yeah, it's okay. If you want to have a 6-pack, or if you want to have, you know, 500-pound squat or whatever, you don't focus on how much other people are doing and are you better than them or whatever. You focus on the habits that will get you there. Okay, I never check the competition, right? The only time, and people would say, and I mean, I don't want to brag, but I always was ranked in the top, you know, I was in the top 3 all the time, right? People would always come up to me at the end of work and they'd be like, oh, I saw you had a good day today. I'm like, oh really, how'd you know? And they're like, yeah, I saw you in the competition, you sold the most, or you were, you know, you're always in the competition, you're always in the top 3. And like, again, okay, maybe I'm bragging a little bit, like I am pretty proud of that because I worked my fucking ass off, but I never checked the competition, I just had good habits. And I knew that having good habits would give me that result. So all I had to do is just kind of, you know, execute the system, so to speak, and I would get the result that I wanted. And fitness is the exact same thing, okay? Once you have a system, which you develop really through experience. I mean, yeah, okay, you are going to learn a little bit online, maybe watch some videos, maybe download a program, but the real way to actually learn anything when it comes to fitness is to try it and see what the actual result is. Okay, something can sound great online. Like I remember, you know, I read this book once about, it's called Convict Conditioning. Oh my God, Convict Conditioning, okay? Where the guy says you should, you know, there's this progression of all these body weight exercises that are supposed to like give you this, you know, prison body, which of this guy who's like super jacked and like in really good shape. And I tried it and I looked like shit. You know, I did it for a month. I was like, oh my God, I fucking look awful. So I tried it, didn't really work out for me. So I did something else. Okay, but you would think that just by reading the book, if you never actually tried it, that it actually works. And I don't know, maybe other people have tried it and it worked for them and I'm just, you know, a complete idiot. Okay, so what was this video originally about? Oh yeah, habits and goal setting. So tell me in a comment, do you set goals for yourself when it comes to fitness? And if so, what kind of goals do you set for yourself? And does that work for you? Have you found that that's effective? And do you have maybe an effective goal setting technique that you would like to share with the rest of the class? If so, leave that in a comment. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I should also set goals. Or are you on the other side where you think habits are more effective? Okay, so let me know in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel, I think over there. Check out legendarysuitjammers.com. Always bring an umbrella with you when you walk outside. Peace.